The most hated skaters of all time. Nyjah Huston. One of the most hated skaters of today is Nyjah Huston. Since she was a child, Nyjah has been saying that he wants to be the best skater in the world. Needless to say, a lot of skaters don't like that. Skateboarding is about camaraderie, creativity, and expression for most skaters. Most don't see it as a competition. While there are skate competitions that Nyjah routinely wins, the skateboarding world has become less and less about competitions and more about individuality. No one really cares if you win competitions. Skaters care how much heart you have and how hard you've worked. Nyjah has worked hard since he was 4 to become one of the top skaters. But with this big-name corporation sponsors and cocky attitude, a lot of skaters have come to hate him. Nyjah Huston has become the world's highest-paid skateboarder, which inevitably people are going to hate you for. Ryan Sheckler. A similar case is Ryan Sheckler, who came just before Nyjah. He was also young when he landed on the scene, and people could sniff out his posh San Clemente upbringing from the beginning. He even still skates at San Clemente Skate Park from time to time. As a young kid, Sheckler got really good really fast. So fast that MTV came knocking and gave him a reality show. Sheckler's behavior on the show made him out to look like the snobby, whiny, entitled kid people thought he was. He also lied about landing a backside flip down the El Toro 20 staircase. Sheckler's only saving grace is that he stepped out of the limelight and a younger, more arrogant Nyjah Huston would replace him as the most hated pro skater. Rob Dyrdek. If you haven't noticed by now, skaters aren't big fans of sellouts. The next one is Rob Dyrdek. It's another story of fame and fortune calling. Dyrdek seemed to focus on skating less when he got his reality show, Rob and Big, which turned out to be quite successful. Ever since, it seems that skating is lower on Dyrdek's priority list. It appears to most that fame and fortune are more important to him than skating. If you put money before skateboarding, people find out pretty easily, and they don't usually like you for it. Dyrdek is an example of someone who was never a favorite skater to begin with, but became the focus of ridicule for his ridiculous career choices and money-making mindset. Jeremy Rogers. Jeremy Rogers is beloved for his skateboarding, and he isn't that much of a sellout like the others above. What people don't like about Rogers is his cocky, borderline delusional behavior. As he became wealthier from skateboarding, Rogers spent his money on gold chains and other luxuries. He also tried to become a rapper, which didn't work out very well. Add in some strange religious beliefs, and you've got yourself a skater that fans used to love, but now shake their heads at. Rogers is kind of like the NBA player Jason Williams of skateboarding. Both were poor white youths who behaved strangely after they got a bit of money. Mark Gator Rogowski. Gator was a popular vert skater in the 1980s and 90s. He isn't hated for being a sellout or getting rich. After vert skating went out of style, Mark Rogowski experienced personal, financial, and mental health issues and ended up raping and killing his wife's friend. He was convicted and sent to prison. He came up for parole in 2020, but Governor Gavin Newsom of California denied his parole grant and reversed it. This could be an indication that the public is not for him being released just yet. After all, he committed some heinous crimes. Ali Boulala. Ali Boulala is one of the most beloved skaters of all time, while also being one of the most hated. Throughout his years as a professional skater, Boulala garnered fame and recognition as an unhinged, free spirit and fearlessly creative skateboarder. He was also known for his partying, which led to a tragic accident. He and amateur skater Shane Cross were drunk and took a ride on Boulala's scooter. Both hammered and going without helmets, they ended up crashing. The accident killed Shane Cross and put Boulala into a coma, and then came the blame. People all over the internet started saying terrible things about Boulala, including that he was a murderer and should have been the one to die. After being sent to jail for it, as well as suffering extreme survivor's guilt and suicidal tendencies, Boulala got sober and his life has continued to improve. Over time, people are laying off Boulala and coming to terms that it was a tragedy no one wanted. Bam Margera. Bam Margera was the first in line of extremely famous skateboarders turned celebrities. He was the best skater on the show Jackass and utilized his skills to do stunts on the show. Bam was always a rad skater with a unique style. but the money, fame, and eventually alcoholism turned a lot of people off. He made a lot of money doing reality TV shows like Viva La Bam. While a lot of skaters liked the show, it's undeniable that skateboarding took a back seat. He stopped skating entirely at one point and began pissing his life away after friend and Jackass cast member Ryan Dunn died in a car accident. After Dunn's death, Bam's priorities seemed to be straightened out, and he's been struggling to stay sober and keep skating. His return to skateboarding and life struggles have made him endearing again, and people have stopped hating Bam so much for his flaws. Steve Barra. Steve Barra was really popular at the turn of the century. The co-founder of the Barracks has been highly critical of skaters on social media. This is ironic, because the Barracks is probably the most successful online skating media entity currently. Not only is Barra known for his antagonistic persona online, he was also caught including fake skate spots in one of his videos. He had a skate-designed ledge that he strategically placed in the streets to pass off as a brick ledge. While the only reason to hate Barra is that he's perceived as an asshole, people pick up on intentions, and his don't always satisfy the skate community. Tony Hawk. When Tony Hawk first became famous, he received tons of hate from skateboarding. He was arguably the biggest sellout in history, making tons of money on corporate sponsorships like McDonald's and Bagel Bites. He then became hugely rich on the Tony Hawk Pro Skater game, which brought skateboarding and skaters to a whole new level of mainstream. People didn't only hate Tony Hawk for his fame and wealth, nearly every street skater has made fun of him for being a vert skater with a goofy style. It was only later that skaters began to realize how much Tony Hawk loves skateboarding and how much he's done for the sport with his skate park building charity. He's remained steadfast and consistent about his love of skating and skaters. Paul P-Rod Rodriguez. Paul Rodriguez isn't a sellout and is arguably one of the best skaters of all time. Some skaters simply hate him for his arrogance. He's one of the best, and he knows it. He's part of this wave of skaters like Sheckler in Houston that have brought ego into skateboarding. Although he's older, the narcissism is more valid. With Rodriguez, it really boils down to the fact that people hate anyone who's successful. While each of these skaters is criticized and even hated for their own reasons, some deserve the hate and others don't. It's tough to tell whether or not the haters are warranted, but one thing is for sure. Fans of skateboarding will despise skaters for being a sellout or behaving in an arrogant way. There's no avoiding it, especially when there's so much more in skateboarding now than there ever has been. Kids see Nyjah and find out that you can become hugely rich and famous just by getting good at skating. Some say that the money has ruined skateboarding, while it is undeniable that it has motivated skaters to push the boundaries of the sport.